Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with our Chapter 38 short-term rental workshop. Selectman Knoll will be joining us once she's through with her work duties. Thank you all for coming. So let me just give you everyone just a quick overview of what this is all about. So last spring, early summer, the selectmen were presented with a proposed ordinance from the local Rangeley group of businesses and individuals. We discussed it during the selectmen's meeting and decided to pass it on to our ordinance committee for review. And the ordinance committee has worked on it, tweaked it, and it now sits with us. At this point, public workshops are just that. They're public workshops. The selectmen, we're gonna go through the draft document that's presented. We'll have as many workshops as necessary to make our way through it. It's not a long document, but I think it's going to get a lot of discussion, which is fine. The next step after the selectmen, after the complete review process, it would we'd come up with a final document for a public hearing or hearings. And those are scheduled in advance. We're going to keep these workshops scheduled the same for your convenience, so you can plan on zooming in or whatnot. We prefer one voice at a time, so everyone has a chance to be heard. We really are here to conduct business, but certainly, you know, that is our goal, is to work through this document. If you have a question, if you wish to make a point, please raise your hand. I'll call on you when we've got, you know, a break in the flow of conversation here. But it's just very, if I hear conversation in the audience, I'm going to ask you to take it out in the hallway, just for the sake of those here who wish to follow along with the discussion, and those zooming in as well. Just common courtesy. So, all right, we are working from, we got through page 3401 and the top of, I'm sorry, everything. So we got through page 1 up until Article 34.3 registrations. Did any? Yeah. So just pass that sign-in sheet around, and we'll get everyone noted. Did any selectmen have questions or comments on the definitions? We've worked through the purpose. We've worked through definitions. Do we have any copies for those in attendance to review? Do we have any copies for those in attendance?
Didn't appear to be any on the table for them to pick up.
It's on the website. I'm happy to go make some copies if you like.
Does anyone
We had
here
a couple
need?
people asking for them. Kenny Haley just asked me for one.
I have an extra.
Who else needs a copy? Okay, looks like we need 1, 2. Okay.
Changes the last meeting.
No, it
No.
hasn't.
There's been no changes since the last one.
Okay, 3, please, Jill.
Yep.
All right, so we move into registrations,
Are we
and
going back to purpose on the first page or
yeah.
everything? On the, I don't know, just talking about the purpose and maybe. I did really like the kittery, how they were, it was just less. Threatening is the word, but like just more like, here we are, we're working for home-based. I don't know. I really
You
like how
the
they put
kittery
their
purpose language.
I mean, it was just friendlier. It was not like, you know, we're here to establish rules and regulations governing short term. I think that there's some kind of flow and less.
okay.
but protecting the quality of the surroundings, the residential neighborhood, and, from being unreasonable or unsafe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you want to read that in its entirety, Sam? Do you have, okay,
All right, this is town of Kittery, Maine. Their purpose is, the use and intent of these regulations is to ensure that any home-based short-term rental business operates in a manner that respects the neighborhood in which it is situated. The regulations allow short-term rental operations in residential dwelling units with the intent of protecting the quality of life of the surrounding residential neighborhood from unreasonable or unsafe intrusions and nuisances inappropriate to residential setting.
thank you, Sam. So, welcome, Shelley.
Thanks.
We're revisiting purpose. Yeah, because basically ours is a one sentence, very concise, but I would concur with Sam. That's kind of the essence of what we're striving for. So the town of Kittery purpose statement is what Sam just read. And Ethan, do you feel differently?
I think both paragraphs essentially say the same thing. If it's a consensus of the board that one sounds better than the other, it doesn't matter to me. I'm pretty short to the point kind of person, so this one's fine with me, but either one.
Well, I like it too. I just was thinking of the rewording and how maybe it would, I could see people, anyone just rubbing them the wrong way.
Yeah. I guess it just kind of sets the tone for the nature of the nature of the short-term rental ordinance. Ethna, any thoughts either way as far as adopting a different purpose statement?
I don't believe that I have a preference either way. I do like kind of the position that Sam's coming from, and that this sets kind of a friendlier tone, because I think it needs to be very clear that this is not an attack on anyone.
Right.
That it's for the betterment of the community as a whole.
Mhm.
And if, yeah.
Okay, Shelley?
No, I actually had Kittery, and Buckport has their own that I printed off as well. And then there are also state regulations on Airbnb as well, so I've been doing a little research, but I think that purpose is fine.
All right, so let's notate the purpose statement with Kittery. Not sure we want to copy it verbatim,
Right, no, of course not.
so we'll modify it. And again, this will be up for a final review. We've got some suggested edits. John?
Yeah, I was wondering how really the purpose, whether it be Kittery's purpose or our purpose, is really different from any civil laws that are already in existence, let's say regarding neighborhood behavior. We've already got a dog ordinance. Why do we need this when we already have laws pertaining to this type of unacceptable behavior?
Yeah, it's what it is, the thing is with short-term rentals, John, is you've got the constant influx or circulation of folks that, I mean, those of us that live here are well aware of our ordinances, or should be. But for those that, who come to Rangeley on a rotating basis, maybe it's the first time they've been here. This is, we hope this short-term rental ordinance also incorporates as an addendum, or maybe, perhaps within the packet, the dogs, the fireworks, the nuisance noise ordinance. And the other component, John, is that I think Rangeley finds itself in a 4-season flavor, okay? Whereas you may find other towns where it may just maybe a summer destination, or perhaps just a winter destination. I think with Rangeley and its 4-season appeal, it's shown a need to, just emphasize the peace and quiet enjoyment folks are looking for. Yes, can it be
Hi.
named?
I'm Stephanie
Hi.
Turnbull. I live on Cross Street. I've been coming to and supporting Maine and its fishing industries for over 30 years. We've supported hotels, motels, the campgrounds. Morton and Furbish, we've been around town. We finally were able to buy our little slice of heaven up here and feel like we're really getting nailed to the wall. And if there's any way to just stop this right in its tracks, I think that we should stop it right in its tracks.
Here, I
We
agree with
live
that.
in town.
Okay, thank you.
Now, in addition to.
Please wait until you're identified, John. I'm so sorry.
Was that your point, Stephanie?
That was my point.
Okay.
And
We
if
want,
there was a motion to make or a way to stop it right now,
No.
I would make it.
and this is a workshop.
I
This is-
understand.
Yes, John.
So what I was gonna say in response to your statement is that, yeah, sure, maybe there are a few short-term rentals that are on the radar for whatever reason it is, say it's the dog ordinance, or maybe having a messy yard or something like that. But fact of the matter is, short-term rental is there only for 3 days, not 365 days. And it's gonna go away. That person can be discharged from that house and it'll be gone. It doesn't need a regulation or teeth or anything like this. When we've already got laws on the books that say that these types of actions are unacceptable. And it's gonna be the rare occurrence where you have anybody who's done this. Now, I've been renting my house out now. Well, I came to arrange with my other, so I said, I'll keep it short and give you the Reader's Digest version. I've been here for a dozen years.
Just very, very short, John. We really need to work through the document.
Yeah, I get it.
We've heard this, because you've already said this in the
I-
last.
No, I didn't. I didn't tell you when I came here. And,
From Massachusetts about what, 20 years ago?
no,
No,
it was like I just said, a dozen.
doesn't, okay.
Yeah, so I've used various rental agents around the town. And I went from one rental agent to another one, and the other one didn't even return my calls. If we are required to have a rental agent or a contact person or something like that, and that other rental agent doesn't return your calls, it's in a little bit of a pickle. I'm thinking maybe what we should have is licensure for rental agencies.
Okay,
That might
all
be
right,
an
you know
interesting
something?
thing.
That's enough, John. This is not about licensure for rental agencies. This document is not about forcing people to sign up for a licensed agency. It is asking for good communication, for an available contact when there are problems, because, it sounds like you run your Airbnb or your short-term rental great and with
you.
responsibility. And that is valued and appreciated. And I wish all the stories were like that, okay? But we're gonna stay on topic and move on. Purpose statement. So we're gonna incorporate this, Stephanie, I'll get to you down the road, okay?
Isn't this also about money?
I'll get to you down the road when we get to that
Okay.
component.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we'll incorporate that purpose statement. Moving on, was there anything else in the definitions that needed to be revisited?
Discussing the operator owner thing, whether or not we want
Like
to
the
reword,
language, right?
whether we want to reword that.
Yeah, the operator section, you're right, is broken down into A, B, C, and D. I think what I had circled was B, a person who has the legal right to possession of a short-term rental, and what that means. Unless that would, the person who's a legal rent.
Because I feel like with operator, it's both owner and who's running the rental agency. Is that what you're trying to get across? Is that what it's trying to be put
Either or,
across?
right?
Yeah.
I think the intent was an either or.
And either or, right? Which then it does make sense. That both have the responsibilities. My concern was, does the rental or whoever's running these A&Bs or does the other person involved with the owner, if they really want to take on this responsibility of the liability.
As far as someone who's other than the owner, like a family member who may be taking this on for.
Well, that's the, is that a transferable, would that be the? If it was transferred over to them? I was thinking, yeah, well, as far as them separating the owner from the operator, and that there's two different.
There's there's a potential for two completely separate.
Right, definitions or.
Right. Yeah, so that, yes,
Just for clarification point, Sam, is there, in the A through D, is there a section that you feel is more relevant to an operator versus an owner, or vice versa? To an owner versus an operator?
So the possession, like the operator wouldn't have the legal right to possession of the property, right? I mean, that would just be the owner.
that's exactly it. So the
Okay,
owner can
right.
assign responsibility and identify an operator.
Right.
So that,
I
that's,
think maybe that, because otherwise collecting the money's fine. Manager, agent, operator, right there. And then A is also the person who is the legal owner of this. I mean, there's just two.
mhm.
Or maybe it's just, I'm just not understanding the wording of that legal right, and I think that's what we were trying to figure out, but.
So would you feel better if A and B were under the definition of owner, while C and D could be under the definition of operator?
A and B owner.
And that's what they, all the, and the licensing would go to just the owner. This would only have to do with going to the owner. Yeah. Right, within filing this.
I missed that.
It was kind of addressing whether or not it would be, whether or not an operator or an owner would be filing the registration.
Either or filing the registration for, I would think it would just be the owner
I think that would,
of the property.
yeah, well, we can further clarify that if need be and under registrations, which is coming up next.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, ready to move on to registrations? Okay,
I'm
Article,
sorry, I'm gonna stop
Yeah,
it.
no.
Does number 11 need to be in there anymore? Given that that was in the original document and the reason for the definition is no longer within the text of the document. I don't believe that's addressed anywhere within the document anymore.
this, okay, so if vacation rental property management company does not appear within this document,
Yeah, I don't think it shows up anywhere else in the document other than that definition now.
okay, so let's circle that and question omit, just in case we, just in case it does show up. All right. Moving on to registrations. So in the first paragraph, as of the enactment date of this ordinance, any persons interested in operating a short-term rental must obtain a registration number and certificate for the short-term rental from the Rangeley Town Clerk. Application forms and a self-inspection checklist will be available on the town's website and in person at the town office. Looks like this is fairly consistent with the other town short-term rental ordinances that we've been provided that have been enacted elsewhere in the state. There is an outline here, number one of the application process. We've got a annual deadline by May 1st, anytime up until that point. Registration fees have not been set or determined. And so we've got each application, just the basic information that is going to be included on the form. And I just have a note here. I wanted to look at Kittery. 5:12:6. I think I like their addition that property taxes be current. No property may be licensed for short-term rental if the property is subject to an existing foreclosure or lien from the town for non-payment of taxes. Didn't know if the board felt about adding that.
I don't think that's necessary for a reason of in every town report. We usually have several people in arrears for the taxes, and that's public information. It always comes back around, and in my tenure, we've never taken a property away due to a tax lien that I can think of. And then maybe their income in order to pay those taxes that are in arrears.
I think that would be, that's kind of, where I was coming from, with this is that if, because a property any property in the state of Maine that's been liened by a municipality, it goes into automatic foreclosure 18 months after the lien has been filed. And so, if a property owner is, earning income, then at the very basic obligation, to the town, keep the property taxes current.
Well, the only way they get out of foreclosure is if the taxes are paid, in which case we get the money that we're owed, and then if they don't pay the taxes, we take the property and we sell it and get the taxes that they're owed. So it seems like that seems relevant to me as far as monetary gain, or it's just the way I feel.
No, it's a good discussion.
Question?
Yes,
When is
Stephanie.
town meeting?
Town meeting is mid-June.
So the registration would be prior to the town voting on this?
No, see,
It would have to be adopted.
Question
before-
mark, say it again,
No, it would have to be adopted before it is put into place, so it would be by the following May.
following May, thank you.
Let's see here. Let's see if I had another note. I think that was the only thing I had suggested to be added.
I'm sorry, Cindy, you
Yeah.
wanted that added under the application process itself, you said?
Yes. Just as a part of the application, process, the status of property taxes would be checked. And so we've got the maximum occupancy, the total number of off-site parking spaces, so that the street parking is not relied upon by the Airbnb. Proof of existence of garbage service, number and location of fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide alarms. And proof of rental insurance. Anything else that should be added? Just one second, John. Yes.
Just so you know, Cindy, that piece is in there, that I
Yes.
is the acknowledgement that the operator has received, read, and understands this ordinance chapter and the town's noise, parking, fireworks, and any additional public safety ordinances.
Okay.
What about that?
That was a question earlier. I heard Cindy mention maybe adding addendums of each of those to this or including the language of those in this. And I think that section,
Or at least showing them where it is.
right, and I think that section covers that there is a requirement that you be well aware of them before you obtain them, or when you obtain the registration.
What about G, the garbage service thing? That one seems like it, and I know garbage exists everywhere, but it seems like it might work somewhere in more populated areas a little better than it works here. One, because we're very limited on garbage service, and two, because if something becomes an eyesore, we can deal with that. Other matters, someone's gonna be renting the place out. I think there's gonna be garbage all over the yard. I would think an adequate amount of trash receptacles would be sufficient instead of proof of garbage service, when it's pretty tough to get services like that around here. I mean, local agencies, they have their own way of dealing with garbage. They've been doing it for a long time. So if someone that's trying to make some income on their place, be it a resident or a non-resident, just seems like a little much.
I think, Bethany, was the purpose of this, not necessarily that someone sign on to a garbage service, but just that that whoever the person is managing the property, if there isn't a garbage service, that there's someone allocated to remove garbage from the site. It's not left outside, just given the wildlife that, can disrupt.
Did you have suggested language that you thought would work better, given that we don't have garbage service, local garbage services? Is there some other way that?
I'm just sitting thinking about this in real perspective. I didn't feel like putting garbage in my can the other night. I left it out, and neighbor's dog ate it. It was halfway across my yard. But I didn't see anybody knocking on my door telling me that I really should have picked it up. It seems a little HOA to me, and I really don't like HOAs. And our town is not an HOA. We are a public entity on a much higher scale, but I just want to make sure that if this ordinance goes to vote, it is not so nitpicky and on the urban side, when folks come here to, like you say, in other ways for it to not be so urban. So we're trying to make sure this place stays with the quality of life that everybody comes here to expect, and the quiet, the neighbors and stuff, and also I don't know, I don't want it to be dehumanized. Because
So you'd like to exclude that language?
yeah, I
entirely,
don't
is
think
that
it
what
needs
I
to
mean?
be in there.
Perfect, thank you. Sorry, that's all I was.
Does anyone feel differently?
I love trash.
I'm deferring to the board right now. Please wait to be called on.
I mean, they'll probably have that writing in there when they sign off the rental to whoever, right, or
As far as the
trash, I mean, what to do with your trash when done, or.
I mean, the rental
One would think
agencies.
that I'm not pretty sure, not to you tomorrow, but you tell them what to do with their, or we'll come get your trash, leave it aside here, and that's something that is dealt with in another.
Hold on, so John had his hand up first.
Excellent, thank you very much, Cynthia. I wish to back up the Board of Selectmen truck to the previous item, which is the registration cycle. I don't recall you calling on the public for any responses and only referring to the board. I waited, but I didn't hear it. So with regards to the previous item, registrations, I want to say that I don't think that we should have registrations because I think it's very easily abused. Now,
How so, John?
basically, let me elaborate, please. Please don't interrupt, I'll continue. What I mean by that is very easily could be abused. So a registration, which you pay X amount, and I understand Lee Libby presented the number of $300 in the 13th month. It was in the April 20th Board of Selectmen Ordinance Committee meeting minutes. And in fact, I think you told me on November 21st that Lee had presented the $300 per year figure.
Lee's on the ordinance committee, not
So
on
that
the
would
board of
be right.
selectmen.
Yeah. But you said that Lee said that. So it'll be
Your point, John.
$300, yes. So my point is, basically what this is doing is it's controlling my right to use my property in the way that I see fit. Now, when you own a house, you have 4 core rights: the right to buy it, the right to sell it, the right to live in it, and the right to rent it. This infringes upon that very core right, because after you pay the X amount of registration fee, then you have to go through what other hoops of fire that we're creating here and now in order to then be within compliance of these rules. If it is deemed by the powers at charge that I don't comply, then my right to rent my own house out is then denied. So I put forward the motion as simply a homeowner in town, that be struck. Also, should this become ordinance 34, then becomes town law. And if it does become town law, then the camel's nose is under the tent. Once the nose is under the tent, it seems to expand. We found that in all kinds of other political arenas in the past, whether it be federal or local. Now, with making changes to it after the camel's nose is under the tent, all I understand it to be is a board of selectmen change, which is basically a pencil whip, so long as the board, let me continue that now. Then it comes to a vote.
Can I stop this for a
Yeah.
second? And I
You're
do
incorrect.
appreciate what you're saying, John, and I respect you, but we're here at a public workshop and we're trying to work through a document that some folks in this room agree with, us working on it, some don't, sounds like you don't. But you can't address board of selectmen like that when they're giving you a chance to speak. Give the chair, you sit and we're asking for public input. And I understand from what you're saying that you're not in favor of this working document. It hasn't gone to vote yet, or gone to hearing yet. But eventually, I'm gonna guess, and I won't speak for the chairperson, is not gonna let you speak the way you are. I don't believe any of us are gonna speak to you the way that I'm feeling you're speaking to us.
So be nice.
And I just don't appreciate it. That's all.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know what I said that was wrong.
I think you can get to the point without all the extra camel's nose under the tent type.
I just don't like when there's.
So just
When
if you've got
selectmen are
something to
being
say.
given orders and none of us are acting like
Yeah.
that. Don't interrupt that. Don't
Okay,
interrupt
I see what
that.
you're saying.
Yeah, I don't like
It's
that.
basically, it's our meeting, you know, the board of selectmen have a right to speak and speak amongst each other. The public is here, which we welcome, but you need permission to speak. So, you know, so I am not gonna apologize for us to continue our continuing business, but I understand you wish for us to strike the registration process. And I know you've got your, you know, your prepared responses to why that is inappropriate. The state of Maine allows municipality home rule authority to develop ordinances that protect the quality of life that we have here. And they can be more restrictive than the state of Maine laws, not less. So that's where home rule authority comes in. Anything else, John, regarding registration or?
Yes, I will not speak to him in a tone that's not correct. Sorry about that. But I would like an opportunity to speak on these topics where I am part of the community, the homeowner, and should this come to a vote, currently I'm voting out of state, thinking about changing my registration to Rangeley, just so I can vote on this topic. However, to have all of this created without the voice of the people, approximately 1,000 people own homes in this town, and many of them are used as Airbnbs. To create this without their ability to vote on this, I think is an injustice.
Well, it's not an injustice, John, because that's what this forum is for. We need a document from which to work from and edit from and work with the public on. It is on our website. The public contact, I got 2 calls today about this short-term rental ordinance. And the Board of Selectmen, we're all open to questions, comments. So we didn't sneak something by the public. This is the first step involving the public, which requires a draft working document. So I take offense at that statement. And, you know, you come here thinking that you've got, you know, you've got the clear picture of how you know, how things operate, but we're being very above board here.
I didn't say that you weren't being above board,
All
but
right,
it
I mean,
seems
we're
like
gonna,
not a lot of people are aware of this. There are certain very pivotal people in the community that until I mentioned it to them, had no idea that this was even discussed. So I think it should be said, let me put it this way, I went to the town post office today, and on the bulletin board, both inside and out, there was no mention of this workshop. I think the only mention of this workshop is possibly on the town website. I'm certain it was there. And I don't know,
okay, you
far
know
and
something,
wide?
John, that's enough. You can have that discussion with me after the meeting, okay? And I
Fair
can
enough.
follow up and see what was posted, what wasn't.
fair enough.
Selectmen's agenda is always posted at the post office, and this would have been listed as a hearing. Okay. All right, anything else?
I think we got garbage and I was we were gonna refer to.
That's,
Yes, that's, sorry.
garbage.
I think her.
Garbage.
So I was just gonna elaborate a little bit on what I was thinking, with what we were thinking, garbage pickup. It's just that oftentimes either a housekeeper will take the garbage or a maintenance gentleman that will take the garbage. So if it's a private rental, I assume the housekeeper takes it. But once in a while they forget or they miss it, or it's like a bucket underneath the deck or something like that. And I think that every neighbor and every community member should know who to call if that animal gets into the trash and it's all over the property all weekend. So Millie Hoekster's great on Lynn Way. We had a property on the right. We missed the trash. I mean, we missed stuff. And so she called us and, you know, within a couple hours we were there and it was everywhere. I mean, they just left it out that morning. So it's just about I think that Millie needs to know who to call on that. And that's all that was. So maybe not a trash service, but just kind of trash pickup, Ethan.
I just think it goes without saying, if you're gonna rent a property, you're gonna pick up your garbage.
It doesn't though, I mean.
Yeah, I don't know,
some
I
of these
guess,
people just
I
leave
guess
it
I'm
up.
just thinking
I've
about
seen
the
it
amount
too.
of,
I mean, it's like they just leave it
the
and
amount
not.
of places of people that live here, there's stuff all over the place, I don't care what they do with you guys.
Yeah.
So I just, that's all I'm getting at. Including mine.
So perhaps some modification with, you know, garbage service, just being aware, you know, that, you know, garbage removal after, you know, the turnover of each tenant should be followed through with each renter, not tenant. All right, anything else under this section?
Yes.
Yes, Stephanie.
I believe to have insurance on your property, you would need someone to come in and inspect it. All of our camps have fire preventions, smoke detectors. The insurance company would not allow us to insure them without these things.
So the
I think I'm in the right chapter.
rental insurance, so that's that's the last thing, so just proof of rental insurance and liability. I'm not sure homeowner, I'm not a licensed
I'm not either.
insurance agent, so I'm not sure if you know, if a renter's dog you know, ran onto the neighbor's property and bit someone, if that would be covered by homeowners, or, you know, where you're operating under, you know, under different circumstances. That was a show.
So there are two types of insurances, because they have to list it. So when you buy a house, you go through a bank. If it says renter's insurance and you're buying it as a second home, then it's not a second home. So I know that there's something that you have to get for extra coverage for that.
So that's what you would be looking for. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so, Stephanie. Go ahead, Sam.
speaking of the pets thing, in a couple of the other towns, did you want to put in a pet section, or is that just kind of redundant?
I haven't thought that far ahead.
Is there a specific pet section that you like the wording of, that you think it should include? Is there?
I think in that good neighbor document that came from had, as far as, having your dog leashed unless in a fenced in area. I mean, I've come across in my, with my walking my dogs and people not, renters not, and causing a huge situation. But and then obviously with waste as well, kind of goes hand in hand.
Don't we currently have a leash law in town anyways?
Right.
So
Exactly.
they just need to be made aware that it exists. Is that what you're saying?
Something of the sort, yeah, and I'm sure that it is probably mentioned in.
We can, I mean, we can certainly make mention, and Ethna had mentioned, there's kind of that catch-all reference to, noise, parking, fireworks, leash law, we can add some reference there. John,
I actually have a little bit of knowledge about both of those topics.
okay,
First of all, my insurance company, I contacted my agent and asked him what I need for coverage in order to do this Airbnb thing. And I don't know really if there's any Airbnb short-term rental or anything like that specifically for the practice of renting a house out short-term. But he was able to increase my premium and coverage. So, so it did cost me a little bit more, but there's no per se short-term rental thing. All I did was up my limits.
Yeah.
On the other topic of the dog thing, as I recall the law about dogs, there is a curfew on the barking, things like that. And command of the dog can be either on a leash, a lead, or voice control. Yeah. So, that's the command of a dog.
right, yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
So just a reference that this isn't, townwide dog park or something. Okay, looks like we have got that under control here. The registration renewal is going on to number 1, shall be required on an annual basis. It's submitted by May 1. And this is kind of what Stephanie had touched on, this wouldn't be May 1 of this year because this hasn't been voted on. Yes.
Really quick, Cindy, the reason behind the May 1 is that is the registration date for all other business licenses that the town clerk manages.
Okay.
Fiscal year.
Number 2 kind of takes care of the May 1 for anybody starting.
First time, number 2, first time registration.
Yes.
Anytime during the year. Okay, and 3 touches on the transferability of the registration license. Seems pretty straightforward. Any questions or comments for Marie? I just have a note. Let me just refer to Kittery. Kittery 512.5. D. Well, I actually liked, so this had, so Kittery 512-5, letter D. It was just they have in here, no later than September 30th, Kittery Town Council will receive a report from the town manager regarding the total number of licenses issued and the status of implementation and compliance with the ordinance to determine the total number of licenses. Well, they have a cap. So this is the total number of available licenses for issuance per year. And it should be adjusted for the ensuing calendar year. I think I would only be interested in, what the total number was. Because this isn't setting a cap, so. I don't know, do we need that in there, Joe, or can we just ask for it?
It would be useful to have it in the ordinance.
Okay. Does anyone, I mean, does anyone mind including that, by September 1st language? Let the board get a total of number of short-term rentals.
December 1st or 30th, sorry, the language is 30th, correct?
Let's do the 30th. Yeah, no, September 30th. Total number of licenses issued. Yeah. Okay, let me just make a note and then I'll,
Okay.
I don't want to lose this thought.
To drop the cap language, though, correct?
Yes,
We have
drop
no cap language
Yeah,
in
drop the
our
cap
ordinance.
language. And basically, there's a lot of figures that float out there about the number of, Airbnbs people think that are out there, I get a call, I think there are hundreds and it'd just be good to have, especially, the board of selectmen just have that realistic figure and be able to field those types of questions. So, John, then Stephanie.
There's about 200, by the way, right now on Airbnb. Of just Airbnb homes within the town of Range. I've done a little search on it. And might be a couple more than 200, but regardless, yeah. I don't know how many of those are managed by companies or independently or anything like that, but in answer to that question, I can give you that. As far as, and we're still on the 34.31 application process and its items.
Can be.
Okay. I want to talk about B, about the contact person. By the way, I seem to be in compliance with all these. I'm not really worried about it, but I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about, by and large, the entire lot, so short-term rentals. The compelling of a person to be there, well, first of all, you're compelling a local contact person to respond to a potentially tenuous situation between their renter and, let's say, a neighbor or somebody that's, registering a complaint, whether valid or not. And there's a certain liability that the town would have there. So as a member of this community, if that person who is compelled to respond to this potentially volatile situation was somehow injured because they're an untrained and not professional person, I think that the town could then potentially be liable for that person having to respond to that instance. So would that be any consideration for the board?
Well, basically, 1D says that there needs to be a response. They don't need to show up with, with their, and be ready to jump into the melee. They just need to respond by telephone to a concern.
Doesn't seem like it's even worth putting it in writing.
It specifically reads the name of the local contact person if different from the operator and a telephone number at which the local contact person may be reached within 30 minutes. Doesn't say anything about forcing you to the property in the event of something serious.
Well,
Elsewhere it does.
on page 4, it says 30 minutes by phone and be on site within 24 hours.
Yeah, so I'm sorry.
Yes, the on-site in 24 hours piece is in a different section of the ordinance.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
So the registration component needs a contact, okay, so that's, and so that's the point of that, John, is that, there needs to be, not everyone has a licensed or a professional rental agency, but they need to have a local contact person. They can't be out in California as the property owner, with, whatever time difference that can't, it isn't available to respond.
Okay, I guess I was jumping ahead to that later section.
That's okay.
So, yeah, because I thought that's where that was going.
Okay. Just, I think Stephanie, did you have your hand up? I just want to get.
I did, and it was back to the lingo about the capacity, the number of Airbnbs we can have in town at any given time.
Yeah, there's no
We don't
no
have a
limit.
cap.
Exactly. However, if this became an ordinance, would just the Board of Selectmen be able to change that number at a meeting without the town knowing about it?
Yeah, that's a
or-
really good question, Stephanie. And one thing about ordinances is they can only be changed at town meeting. So if there was a
Once a year or twice a year?
once a year is
Once a
town
year.
meeting. So if there was, and that's with any ordinance. So yeah, it would have to go through a workshop, a public hearing, and then be on the town warrant for a public vote.
Okay.
And a disclosure as to what, what's being specifically changed.
I
Yeah.
do just, so sorry, I do just want to clarify something, only because of the way it was just stated, once a year. Town meeting can
Yeah,
occur
it can.
more than once a year,
It can.
it can.
Okay.
If something comes up at a special town meeting, this could go in front of a special town meeting for change. But
the
it is the
question-
only place it can be changed. Any of the ordinances can only be changed, except for a handful that I think the Board of Selectmen have control over, but that's like traffic and something else.
But this wouldn't be one of those.
This is not one of those. This would have to go to town meeting. And it would go through this process every time before it goes to town meeting. It would come to public comment. It would then go to town meeting and then be voted on by the townspeople. These 5 people do not make the decision, the final decision on this. The people who put us in these seats make the final decision. The people who elected us as officials, the people who elected us as officials to take care of the town, they put us in these
Yes, I
positions to
live here
take care of.
So I'm a week.
Okay, yes.
I respect your time and I know it's limited,
It's
so I
limited.
don't want to go line to line with you and debate anything, but there will be a short public. If I could address this at a time, will there be an open forum just for a few minutes to address you? Or
Are you looking for, are you in the public hearing? I mean, part of things probably, I mean, this workshop is for the selectmen to work
Right.
through the document. Is it something in addition to what you've written
No.
here? I mean, you really should feel free to chime in, raise your hand. If you've got something, a point you wish to make.
Well, you know, the reason I asked is because I give you the document that I wrote and I'm late to the game and I.
It's only meeting number
apologize.
2.
And
It's only meeting number 2.
Time restraints and health issues,
Yeah.
But being a local business owner and obviously having a dog in the fight, I'm not going to pretend I don't, because I come up against short-term rentals owning a motel. So, but there are also things that I don't want to take, I'm not taking an opposite position from anybody else. I as a steward in the area too, I want to make sure that also these homeowners are protected. There's a lot of stuff that hasn't been in hospitality industry for over 40 years that I know that other people may not think of. You know, I think like when you're talking about insurance, umbrella policies. I don't know if a lot of people understand how liable they're making themselves if they're, say, supplying cribs or boats or such, or maybe the steps or the railings aren't correct. And if they're insured, they may think I have homeowners insurance and I'm fine. Well, your homeowner insurance can jump right off if you're not in compliance and haven't told them you're doing certain things. And it's just that, you know, not knowing why you need registration and not knowing why you want, you know, I may have a different viewpoint of that. And I don't want to sound as if, you know, by giving you those papers, I'll leave others, you know, and certainly attend other workshops. But there are reasons, and I know there are reasons why you're looking at these things and things that can happen that, boy, you just have no idea the stuff comes out of it. One of them is along the lines of, if you have a neighborhood with 20 houses and 5 of them are operating as a short-term rental, isn't that an undue hardship in one particular area? So to know where they are, what they are, and again, anybody in this room, obviously it's preaching to the choir. You obviously are doing things right, or you wouldn't be here looking to have input. It's people, few that want to put them in, and that's all.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, absolutely, but my rebuttal to that is, Lou, don't worry about me, I'm a big boy and up and eating solid food now. I got this, okay? I've been doing this for a while, and if anybody doesn't have it, well, maybe they shouldn't be doing it, they probably be weeded out by the process.
Okay, thank you, John.
Hmm.
All right, we've got 5 minutes. All right, so we have worked our way through registrations. Now into operating standards. Four. In addition to the registration requirements, the following operating standards shall apply, and the short-term rental shall not generate other potential disturbances which may disrupt the peace, safety, and general welfare of the neighborhoods in which they are located. So number 1 is a local contact person. Yes, so
This is the section that John was concerned about.
Yes.
Obviously, the intent is to have someone on site so that the home or the issue that has been reported can be addressed. If it is a public safety issue, that's gonna be a 911 call to begin with. Period.
In regards to that paragraph, because I was thinking to myself, when you said, oh, you can't go to California, then I was thinking, well, why not? But the way I just thought like that, folks are gonna do it anyways. This one is is to have something in place, but it's also a goodwill paragraph. So basically, if they're not, if something happens and they can't address it, then they jeopardize, they're taking their own chances with being able to continue to rent their property, I assume, or whatever teeth they're put onto it. So I wasn't in favor of having that paragraph in there, but I am now. How about that?
I was gonna say, is it the paragraph in its entirety or the language, because it's already been changed once. I know that the ordinance committee widened that window to the 24 hours. Because it was a much shorter window.
Yeah, I guess what I thought about was, what you said, well, if it's an extenuating circumstance, 911's gonna be called anyways. So I think they should be able to be reached by phone. I don't think they need to be on site. If anybody wants to leave it in there, folks are gonna rent their house and do it anyway, take their chances. Some of them will, if that's what I believe in.
I'm so sorry, is this, under registrations, is that where I should have made a comment about the fee?
the fee
I'm
has,
so sorry, I didn't have this in front of me.
the fee has not been
So that's
determined.
later.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Can I just speak to it, just
Yeah.
as a community member? So, I made a mistake, and so when the Good Neighbor Coalition wrote the original document, I did not realize until today, when I read the original document that we wrote back in February. I was one of 8 or so. And I signed my name to it. I made a mistake. It said there should be a fee. I have never supported a fee. I apologize. We wrote it during a very busy time. Our point of this document, I just want to say this so it's public, was exactly how Sam described the mission. It's so neighbors have, so they're not like out there, like, oh my, they're not being abused. We all want to live in this community together. So I did want to say the fee piece, because remember I zoomed in last time and you mentioned it. And I'm sorry, I was busy, I was away for Thanksgiving, I finally read it today. And I know at least my sister from the Plastic Grocery and Kelly Grant, O'Neill and I do not believe there should be a fee. We just think we want our community to know where all the rentals are. So I just want to say that, because I thought I missed it, so.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
So number 1, we'll keep the local contact person. I think be on site within 24 hours, I would see if a home has a capacity of 10 and there are 20 occupants there. It's not, you don't call the police for that. You call the operator and then they could come and address it. It's kind of where I was thinking, that the 911 component would be for emergencies. Mark, then Kenny, then that will be it at
That
6
local
o'clock.
contact person, that could be as simple as what Beth mentioned about the trash not getting picked up and strewn all over the place. If there isn't someone local to report that to, who's gonna take care of that
Mhm.
trash, you know, and it could be getting dragged into the neighbor's yards
Mhm.
as well. So, you know, that's pretty handy, I think, just to
Right.
have a local contact person that, you know, can deal with something as simple as that, not, you know, a life-threatening situation.
Absolutely. Kenny and then John, if it's quick,
Yeah,
but we've got a selectmen's meeting. Kenny? go
I
ahead.
got a quick thing on the fee also, and that is, some of us grew up here and always loved the place, and then there's a lot of people that have come here recently, that whether they've been 10 years, 20 years, whatever, but I see all the time people that ask for site work to be done on their houses and stuff, and part of what they do is they put these plans together to be able to have these properties that they call the second home, but they also plan to cover a lot of the cost, the taxes and the insurances and maybe part of the mortgage by renting it out a certain number of weeks a year. And I kind of think that the fee should be a real normal amount, like maybe $50 or something. And I think you should have a registration. I think a nominal fee would be what I'd be in favor of.
Okay, thank you, Kenny. John, real quick, and then we're done.
correct.
Okay, this ends the public hearing, workshop. So next workshop is scheduled for 5 to 6 for our next selectmen's meeting.
That was Cindy.
Really?
Cindy.
Oh, crap.
You can stay for the meeting. He's like, no.
I had two votes.
Oh.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
I'm driving there across street thinking that it is public access. Just saying.
And you are the one.
Thank you, guys.
And I'm not.
John, thank you so much. Thank you.
That's the reason why they kept. I got your stuff, Mama. So. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Hey, so much garlic.
Stephanie, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're over there.
You can't smell it anyway.
No, I can't.
Whatever that was, it destroyed my nose.
That's potent. All right.
Is it okay to close the door?
Exciting, wasn't it?
Wasn't it? So if you want to, so range, this is where his arguments are coming from on Range United.
You put it, I didn't have the energy to read.
So if you compare. Somebody over
We're
to
not, that's.
Can you hear? Close that.
Yeah, I'll close, if you could close that one.
Like a midday, huh?
See that I want to be all professional, so I brought my my main one, I bottle from the conference.
All right.
On the house.
Hi, Lee.
Wow.
Wasn't that fun?
Just finish it out.
You should have come and sat.
Somebody forget their coat.
Kenny Haley.
Hey,
Is he out there?
No, he's probably Gavin.
No.
It's gonna be cold outside, Kenny.
I'm sorry. Is this on?
You're still being recorded.
Okay, never mind.
No, that's it.
They know all about my garlic.
The whole garlic thing is a public record now.
All right. All right, the workshop. We'll get there eventually.
Don't we have to?
For accessory dwelling, anyways.
All right, we're gonna have our meeting.
Please do.
That's a different conversation.
Stop it, Shelley.
I'm just
hard
trying to get
enough.
ahead of the game, you know?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. All right. It's now time for our regular Board of Selectmen's meeting for December 5th. Call the meeting to order. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, at any point during the meeting, if selectman finds they have a potential conflict of interest, please disclose that. Any, Joe, any adjustments to the agenda?
None,
Okay. Review and approve minutes for November 21st, regular Board of Selectmen meeting.
Motion to approve the November 21st, 2022 regular Board of Selectmen meeting minutes with any corrections.
Kevin's motion.
Second.
And Sam seconds. Any suggested corrections? All those in favor? All those abstaining? 4 in favor, 1 abstaining. Any public present to speak on a non-agenda item? Yes, Lee Libby,
They talk about short-term rentals.
if you wish.
I'm just kidding.
That's cruel. No, it's fine, it's fine, it's a passionate subject.
Yeah.
No, did you have anything?
No, I
Okay,
didn't. I
you're
just
just
wanted
He's
to.
just here for an agenda
I
item.
wanted this gentleman to know what it was.
Okay.
Because you use my name a lot, so.
Mhm.
Well, you can. Everybody knows who you are.
All right, no public to speak, no boards and committee reports. We have under consent items. We have the Rangeley Lake Snowmobile Club Casino Night approval. So we need a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve Ranger Lake Snowmobile Club Casino Night to be held at Ball Mountain Camps from 6 p.m. to 11 on January 19, 2023.
All right, that is Ethan's motion and Beth's seconds. Any questions or comments?
Can I just clarify? It looks like Snowdio is going to fall on the same weekend. We weren't able to push it. I know you guys were.
No, but I am working on moving the date of Snowmobile. There's a lot going on in the club, if anybody doesn't know. There's
No
only
clue.
2 members that actually carried over, and I'm the president, so we're bad. But Snowmobile this year, we're just limping through it, because we've lost a lot.
Okay.
So, remember the Snowmobile when you were a kid? Remember that? That's where we want to go back to. And I think it's gonna take a change of the dates. Not a lot of work, but we'll get there. So tonight, this year, we're just doing casinos, fireworks, basic stuff.
All right, so we don't see this night changing that. It's
No, that one's
Okay.
pretty much set.
all right. Super. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Shelley.
So are we approving it or are we approving the letter to submit to host the snowmobile?
Approve the letter.
Okay.
Or need to-
Motion to sign the annual letter that we signed.
Does there need to be an amendment to the motion, Joe?
Yes, ma'am.
I amend my motion to word, pardon me. Yes, yeah, Joe, what are my words here?
To approve the blanket letter of approval for the casino night from Rancho Lake Center.
So moved. So amended.
So amended.
Second.
And after the seconds. Any further discussion? Mark?
Did you mention BioWorks?
Yes.
Is there a separate permit from the?
That's a separate permit from the
Yep. That comes from the fire.
fire chief, yes.
We have plenty of time.
It never happens, the weather's never been there.
So
It hasn't happened in years. We have a credit.
To determine future date.
All right, all those in favor? And that's unanimous. Town dock improvements, BMC diving contract. The first step is to authorize the town manager to sign.
Motion to authorize the town manager to sign the BMC diving dock contract.
Sam's motion
Second.
and Ethna seconds. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Oh, hold on, Mark got his hand up. Yes, Mark.
So are you comfortable, I have a question for the town manager, I was just wondering if he was comfortable with all the conditions that are attached to that.
Generally speaking, Madam Chair, yes.
Okay.
I have reviewed it with the town's attorney. I am comfortable presenting this to you. Moving forward.
Thank you.
All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Second motion to approve the down payment of $59,506.78 for materials in the town park reserve.
Motion to approve the down payment of $59,506.78 for materials from town park reserve.
Ethna's motion. Sam seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Next up is the State of Maine Municipal Snowmobile Grant. Our first order of business is to appoint Leon Libby to be project manager of this grant.
Motion to approve Leon Levy to appoint Leon Levy to be project director for the purpose of the application agreement certification municipal county grant and aid program for snowmobile club.
second.
Ethna's motion and Ethan seconds. Any further questions or comments? Yes, Mark.
I was just got thinking about it, and so the snowmobile club gets this grant. The town voters typically vote to give them the excise tax from the registration of snowmobiles. Plus, there's the other warrant article that most of the time is like for $50,000 that the voters approved to get to that. And the thought just crossed my mind is with these public funds going to this volunteer organization. It's a nonprofit, right? It's a 501(c). Does that make their financials a public record?
I don't have an answer.
I don't know offhand. I don't know, we can find that out.
I can tell you that in the past years, some of the local businesses have asked to see the books, and we open them and let them scroll through and see whatever they want.
I don't
I
know
would
the
say
legal
yes.
answer, but it seems to me that when public money
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
given out,
Yeah.
that equates to a public record of financials. So that's all I was just asking about, because like during budget time, we get pretty detailed financials from the Chamber of Commerce and the public library. And the snowmobile club. Those are like the three biggest ones that ask for, they call it donations, whether it is or not, that's. a terminology type thing there, I'm not interested. But the snowmobile, I don't think they're, what they submit with their financials is as thorough as the other ones, and that, it just made me a little curious if they were in fact a public record. That
So
the
was the town,
selectmen could therefore ask to see if they wanted to. So,
Oh, you're good, huh?
So would the town like to see more detailed financials? And if they do, that's not a problem. I would love for people to see the financials. I would love people to see how much money we actually have to fundraise. It's much more than our grant monies are. I would love to actually see that. So I would present the budget committee with a more detailed set of records if you would like.
I think it may be helpful.
No, I want
You know, you have your share of undercurrents, you know, in this town, no matter what you're trying to do. And I think transparency is the best tool to dispel this.
Can we put it in there?
So two things really quick. I did just want to, and I'm so sorry, Mark, to do this to you, but you mentioned snowmobile excise tax, and there is not excise tax on snowmobiles. What that is, the registration fees that we hope to get to.
Registration.
And I just wanted to make that clear for the
Thank
record. I
you.
didn't want
Yes.
anybody to think we
Right,
were
it's
giving out this
registration.
information. Second, 501c3 entities are responsible to file certain reports annually, and those disclose their records, their financials.
Yeah.
That much I do know from working with
So
several in the
this is
past.
all new to me, because this is the first year we're technically a 501c3. And Chris Morgan does our work, so I will find out where we can find that and then share that with the town. And maybe bring it to a committee meeting.
I almost think maybe a standardized request, just a profit and loss statement. You can print it out from, you know, for the previous, you know, tax year or whatnot. It itemizes all of the different categories in which it's just a suggestion. It's something that any entity that uses QuickBooks or Quicken can, you know, yeah. Just a thought, but something that the board can talk about in the future.
Can we make a motion that we request that for future?
Well, I think that the thing of it is, Lee, I think the applications have already gone out for nonprofit financial requests, so it's something we should look at for next year as far as how specific, you know, because I know some organizations just create this color pie chart. And it's whatever they've put in there. It's not, it's nothing that's, you know, come from a software, you know, an accounting software. It's something that they've made up. Not to be deceitful, but it's just what they thought that they were supposed to submit. Whereas others, you know, you've got the detailed profit and loss statement. So something we'll remember to look at down the road with the nonprofit request applications. But thank you for wanting to lay it all out for us.
Oh, I love to share it because nobody really knows. A lot of people don't understand the fundraising that goes on. I feel like I'm begging for money all the time.
Yeah.
We work hard to fill every bed and every bar stool in town for 16 weeks out of the year. That's our goal, right?
Yeah.
I want you to have to push people out to do it.
All right.
We don't always want it, but.
Mhm. All right, so we have a motion for Lee Libby to be appointed. Ethna's motion, Ethan seconds. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? And that's unanimous. Next up is we need a motion to authorize the town manager to sign this grant in aid program application.
So
That is Ethan's motion, and Sam, was that a second?
Oh, that was me.
That
Sorry.
was Ethna's
I was
second.
giggling at Ethan's shortcut to motion.
two of the greatest words ever heard.
So he loves them. They're his favorite.
Any other, yes,
I just want to say thank you. My wife does not know I'm here, so I'm gonna go.
okay. Thank you, Lee. All right, all those in favor, and that's unanimous. There's no correspondence, there's no old business, there's no new business. Under town manager report. We'll go to Joe's notes under number 11. So Joe, why don't you go ahead and take us into the town manager report?
Certainly, Madam Chair. First item, our full-time CEO has moved on, so we are advertising to fill that position. That's a full-time position. Our deputy is still with us. He's keeping the lights on for us on a part-time basis. He does have a full-time job. He puts in an average of 20 hours a week, most of it on his lunch break or after hours, which seems to be agreeable to the customers. They're okay with that by and large. They recognize that we're in a period of transition. I want to publicly thank Carl for helping us through. That's the first item. This is not on the list in front of you, Madam Chair, but we did interviews this morning for some public works positions, the highway position and the parks and rec position. The public services director opening has been listed twice. The first time around, we got absolutely 0 applications. The second time, we did get a handful from Indeed. Indeed tends to send you applications from people in Texas and Ohio that may not have qualifications that you're necessarily looking for. But there were a couple more local ones in the review, see if we want to interview them. So we are interviewing for the open union positions in public works. There's a follow-up on here to the last meeting. There was a question about the land area of the unorganized territory. Franklin County Chief Bacon has presented this. He compiled it and got it together for us. So Davis Township is 41 square miles, Stetson Town is 42, Seven Ponds 39, letter D 49, letter E 23, Langtown 25. The audit is in progress. We're expecting that to be done in early January. They've got the documents. We have not forgotten about the short-term investments project. We have the matrix put together, the banks, the rates, the other information we're looking for. But the Federal Reserve is going to meet, I think it's next week, to talk about interest rates. So that'll be something we want to tune in for. Christmas party. So Tracy did some talking with folks around the office and so forth. And December 12th works. It seems to work for the majority of people. Relay that to Sam. I just wanted to make sure that's okay with the board and everybody else before I officially put that out there tomorrow morning to everybody. Does that work?
Yeah.
And then post it publicly. Okay. Sam, I'll follow up with you for details on the exact start time. And then we talk about the other land, but I just want to be sure. Chapter 38 workshop with planning board December 15th. That's from 4:30 to 6:30 on the calendar. Oh, sorry, I'm moving the calendar, Madam Chair. And then which I guess that falls in my report. Transfer station is closed. I'm declaring it closed on December 24th. I gave you a little bit of a synopsis of that in the town manager notes or board selectmen notes. It's an area where our personnel policy is kind of silent on the holiday for folks that if an operation is open on the weekend, it's very clear. And, you know, it's closed on the weekend. It's the Friday before the week after. My approach to this is to close it for Saturday, so it's closed Saturday and Sunday. I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Monday too?
No, it'll be open Monday.
Just switching the holiday for the
Yeah.
holiday day.
So, I'm sorry.
Shelley has her hand up.
Christmas is on, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the town office is gonna be open on Monday?
So the town office will be closed on Monday.
Right.
Because we're not typically open on the weekend. We're never open on the weekend. The transfer station is open on Saturdays and some are open on Sundays. But in this case, they're open on the Saturday. And the Sunday, they're closed. So they, instead of closing Monday, which is a very busy day, the day after Christmas is one of the busiest days at the transfer station. I've decided that it makes more sense to close Christmas Eve, which is only busy for an hour or so in the morning, a couple hours in the morning.
Okay, so the town office stays the same, the only thing being affected is the transfer station.
Only item, yeah, that I'm bringing up to you for the calendar is the transfer station, just because the public will need to know that.
Switching home, just switching the holiday for Saturday to Monday, Monday.
And it's something that happens 5 or 6 years.
Right.
We've done it before.
I asked Rich that, I couldn't remember, it had to have come up when I was here before, but I couldn't remember how we.
Was there any heartburn?
He didn't remember it, and I don't remember it.
Makes sense.
And financial reports, expense reports you receive by email, and they're also on the website.
We're closed most days. Even when our branches are open Saturday, we're closed on Saturday and we're closed on Monday.
Yeah, just to be crystal clear, Madam Chairman, from what I'm proposing, or what
Yeah.
I'm doing effectively is closing Saturday the 24th. It's already closed on the 25th, which is the actual holiday.
Mhm.
So the employees that work there they earn the holiday. So I've got to figure out where do I give it to them. To me, it just makes sense to give it to them the day before. Because it's typically not.
So they will be open on the 26th after
Yep.
the first station.
Yes, which is a very busy day. It's a transfer station.
Okay.
Just sorry, it just doesn't seem fair, but, because usually on Christmas Eve, people stay open till like noon time and then they, typically have, if it's Christmas falls on a Sunday, then Monday's the holiday. And,
Right.
and I was just, if the town employees have the day off and it is as a holiday to them, I don't, did they pick which one day they wanted? I'm just curious because
That's why I asked if there was any heartburn. Out of the whole 2 employees, do you know?
Oh, no, they're okay with it. Yes.
okay.
Yeah, the employees that this affects, I have checked, they are okay with it.
Okay.
So they still get the same number of days off, the single day,
Just
just
holiday.
swap because dump employees have a lot of days off anyways, don't they?
So is that holiday?
No, because they've agreed to switch a holiday. So they're trading one for the other.
Yeah, nobody gets any extra compensation.
Which is very nice. Totally appreciate it.
Seems okay to me.
All right.
What time did you say that, I'm sorry, that workshop was on the 15th?
4:30.
4:30.
6:30. All right, monthly financials were emailed out. Thank you, Joe.
And full disclosure, I heard it earlier in the board's meeting, earlier today, Kristen's out today. But I sent her an email with chapter 34 because I thought of that being connected to chapter 38. So just so she's aware, we're working and ask her to do anything with it, said here it is. Just so she's aware that you're working on 34. May have come up, but just want her to know, have that.
Okay.
Isn't that what she's working on too?
Who?
Kristen.
Kristen. Yeah, she's,
All
I
right.
was confused too, that's okay.
All right, so next up, select board communication. Ethan.
Most of the communication I've gotten came up during the workshop. And I have received quite a bit of communication on the street. Maybe you all get more often, I have no idea, but I've received quite a bit of opinions and feedback and questions about the short-term rental workshop.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah, and they, the documents on our website, if they want to, print off what we're working with so far.
Just so you know, I couldn't find it on the website today. I tried to direct someone there and it wasn't there.
It's in the green box, Madam Chair, at the top of the page. Right below where it says radios, I think it's green. A rectangular box in the middle, I think, on white letters, chapter 34.
So it's not under the, useful documents one where the rest of the documents usually go.
Oh, I think that's where it is, in useful links.
Okay, because it wasn't this afternoon. When I got a phone call from someone who wanted a copy of it, and I said, oh, it's right here on the website. And she goes, where? So I went to the website and couldn't tell her where. Yep, I'm like, whoops, sorry, my bad. Call the town office.
I'll double check that.
Yeah, that was earlier today, Joe. It very well may be now.
Shelley? Good. Sam?
Just excited for the town Christmas party, you know, so, and as far as the town Christmas tree, I see that the guys came out, put more lights around it. That was very exciting, but then they went out.
So update on the giving tree. I guess we haven't talked about this. The ladies auxiliary for the fire department provided some updated Christmas lights this year. Very thin
$600
worth of. Yeah, a lot of nice LED lights. They went on about the same coverage area, went on the tree. When the tree was lit, well, I guess I should step back. There are remote controls, which is different. We didn't have those before. So it's kind of a new element for us. They came on and almost immediately one of the ones in the middle section went defective. Something happened, it didn't work, couldn't get it going. So for a week or so, that middle section was out, but immediately one of them was blinking. That was a remote control. So we got that taken care of right away. And then the middle one, Chief and Cam went down, put a new strand up in the middle last week. They took care of that, made it look really nice. And this morning, I guess, got a report that the bottom row was out. So Chief and Cam went back down and put the.
They got hours into that tree.
They do, and I appreciate, I thank you both. Yeah, well, there's very thin wire, so we're hoping we can get through till New Year's unscathed and just kind of, if it's starting to come unlit, we'll just probably unplug at that point. But one of the things I've talked about with folks in town is, it's a time to, maybe remove that and put a new tree in, a younger, healthier, obviously be a little bit smaller than that tree. So I'm gonna try to get some budget numbers together for that. But thank you to Chief Bacon and Public Works were involved in putting that up the first time. So they really have been attentive to that. They know how important it is to the town and to the ladies auxiliary for supplying the lights.
And if there's anything, obviously I can do or help. Make it better, whatever.
There you go.
Love to.
Call me.
Ms. Thompson, anything?
If you can imagine it, short-term rental conversations.
Yeah, this is
It's the hot topic right
It
now, so
is.
for, to hear from some of the people present that nobody knows about it was kind of a shock to me. It
Yeah.
kind of set me back, because I'll tell you what, everybody who talks to me knows about it.
yeah, and it's all right.
So I hope that everybody is, how many articles has it been in, and how many conversations? Yeah, it's out, the information's out there, we're
Yeah.
talking about it.
I've heard more about this than.
Yeah.
It's right up there with any other subject. That, been reported on, and
Right up there with airport improvement projects.
not quite up to that.
Well,
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
well, the thing of it is, it's a statewide, it's a statewide matter for those that don't already have ordinances, so.
Well, more people are doing it.
We said that the state is already drafting up something.
And that's the big piece, is they just recently passed legislation that forced a group to come together and take a look at
Yeah.
housing and short-term rentals and the effects on housing. And it's in progress. It's this huge, I have the first report that group did that I can probably offer to everybody so you can read through it and see what they're saying. But it's a huge push statewide. And the intent of the ordinance that was drafted was so that we could get out in front of it.
Right.
Because let's be honest, in my opinion, we know we need short-term rentals in this area. We don't have enough
Right.
accommodations without them. Without them, we don't have enough
Right.
places for people to stay when we get the influx around Snowdale, when we get the influx around other.
We don't want to put our hotels and motels out of business either.
Right.
Right, but we're not doing that. There is more than enough people coming to the area
Right.
to sustain all of us.
Yeah.
There really is, and we can't put the burden off on them by getting rid of short-term rentals. So we need to address the best way to keep everybody in the community happy, and that's what the draft ordinance was
Looking for
intended.
balance.
Yeah.
That's what the draft ordinance was intended to do.
Yeah.
was to say, hey, we know this and we want to be, I mean, I don't know a short-term rental person who's running it correctly, whether that's by private management, by management companies, who's doing it correctly, that wants to have their neighbor mad at them. That is not what they want.
That's right.
They aren't going out there
Right.
trying to cause problems. It's the handful that created the problems that got everybody up in a, I mean, let's, 3% of the homes in the state of Maine are short-term rentals, 3% people. That number is not affecting
Right.
your long-term stays.
What
It's
is it in Rangeland?
To separate Rangeley out from the plantation.
Yes,
'cause I
we
know
did.
a hard time that they-
we did, that was all on the last sheet
Yeah,
that we
was on
gave
our-
everybody.
I can't-
Hold that thought, Mark, hold that thought.
The best thing says there's 190 in Rangeland.
In Rangeley alone.
But you wouldn't know the percentage unless you knew the total number of dwelling units.
Yes, and you have to have the total number of dwelling units,
To
and I
figure out
think,
that percentage.
yes, but I think the assessors can give us that number.
Right.
Yes,
Madam
Joe.
Chair, the number is 1,941.
For total,
Total dwelling units. in Rangeland.
So that's
Is what?
10%. So right now, 10% of the dwelling units are short-term rentals in Rangeley.
Sorry, what was that?
Best number's correct at 190, and there's 1,900 total units.
So Joe, did they differentiate out churches, they different, they
This is
took,
just dwelling units.
Yeah, I specifically asked for dwelling units.
Okay.
So there are 1,859 buildings that have dwellings in them, but the dwelling units, is 1,941. That's what-
1,941.
Roger he didn't print the 266 pages, he just gave me the summary.
Nope,
So
that's, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Um,
I was gonna call him and ask him for it.
no, that's, okay, put that. Just want to make sure I get that.
Before the next
Yes,
same.
5 o'clock before your next meeting.
So is your next meeting the 19th?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, are you waiting for, I'm like, is he waiting for an answer? Yes, it is, it's the 19th.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Be there, be still. It's gonna be a show.
So the only thing I have is I touched base with Joe earlier about that letter to the planning board from Kristen. And, because we're like a couple months overdue with that, so that's in the works. They meet, again, on the 15th? And then that's it for this year?
Yeah, possibly, I'd have to double check.
Okay, so we won't have a chance to review that prior to their next meeting. So we'll look to get that to review at our next meeting then.
Did you say the party was on at 3 o'clock? What time did you say?
Our Christmas party, I think we're waiting to hear back what people are wanting to do, right, with, if it's
Time.
at 3 o'clock.
So let's, if you don't mind, Madam Chair,
No.
let's talk about that right now. I think we have some employees here that are gonna get out 2:30-ish. So they may wanna go right over there at 3 and get started. Maybe some committee members wanna get going at 3. So if you had a soft start at 3 and then a regular start at 4, something like that. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you wanna put a cap on the other end too, so I can tell folks? Still
Of the
6 or
time?
something? 3 to 6?
What do you think?
It's up to you.
We close at 9, but I'll have food and stuff and bowling will be available for everyone. But yeah, I mean. I forgot that right now, but yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe 3, yeah, 3 to 8. 3 to 8, that sound good? Is it 9? Sure.
Well, it's only like, it's not dinner, right? Well, they can,
Yeah, it's just
can they
like-
order dinner?
Oh, yeah, they can
Oh.
order whatever, but I'm gonna provide, pizza.
Just munchies, right?
Okay.
It's
Snacks, wings.
very generous. Yeah. All right, I
I hope
think,
people show. I've been told not to be offended if people don't show, don't take it personally.
right. Yeah, I've got a meeting at 4, so I'll be a little late, but it's all right.
You think it's 3 to 8?
Yeah.
All right, I think that's it. A motion to adjourn. Not doing it?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do it, Ethan. All right. Ethel-
Is it Ethel or Ethan?
That's Ethna's motion to
Ethna's
adjourn,
motion.
because I made Ethan feel self-conscious about his so moves.
Oh, I'm not self-conscious. I just didn't. I saved a couple for next time.
Ethan, Ethna's motion and Sam seconds. All those in favor? That's
You abstain?
unanimous. All right, we have